Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of True General Champions and Comparison, featured by Wild Rift League of Legends versus the Mobile Legend Bang Gang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our new next episode video. Let's do this!
Every new generation, humans expanded their territory further into the Lowland tribelands, disrupting the chaotic nature of Ionia. Xayah couldn't just stand around and ignore what was happening. She decided to take the matter into her own hands and tried to reason with the humans. She ventured into villages beyond the forest of her tribe and learned how little she knew about the outside world. One time, a group of poor villagers mobbed her. Some of them were trying to steal her feathers as priceless trophies, while others feared her strange appearance and called for guards, forcing her to defend herself. This taught them the dangers of going against her, as she skewered them with her lethal quills. Being under the stress of what just happened, she returned home, only to discover that her tribe, including her father, was missing without a trace. She found that one of the ancient Vastayan temples had been tainted by unnatural shadow magic, disrupting its connection to the spirit realm. Xayah destroyed the temple in order to dispel the corruption. Almost instantly, the magic flowed back into the surrounding lands. It was a beautiful sight, but her tribe was still nowhere to be found. After years spent invading strongholds and leaving a trail of bodies in her wake, she became known as the Violet Raven. She lived alone, focused only on the next mission, and the next step toward the freedom of her kind. But then she met another Vastayan who would change her life forever. As she entered the remote mountain town of Volonko in search of a stolen Vastayan artifact, she was struck by the strange sight of a chanting crowd of excited humans. On stage before them stood a preening flamboyant performer, a veritable golden peacock who sang old Vastayan songs. As he finished his show with a dazzling array of cheap tricks, at least as Xayah saw them, the crowd erupted and chanted his name, Rakan. He took theatrical bows and she dismissed him as a buffoon. Xayah forced herself to ignore the entertainer and complete her mission. She made her escape, which she had to admit had become far easier thanks to the buffoon's destruction of Volonko's villagers. Despite vowing never to see Rakan again, she couldn't seem to get him off her mind. It was a strange and complicated feeling. There was lightness to his spirit which she found alluring. As she left the town, these thoughts distracted her enough to get ambushed by a group of mercenaries. She expected a fight anyway, so she was glad to get her feathers bloody. A good brawl seemed to be the perfect antidote to useless diversions and unwanted feelings. That's when Rakan made his grand entrance. Xayah insisted she didn't need his help, but Rakan insisted he didn't care. He just didn't want to miss the party. Throughout the fight, Rakan proved himself to be a surprisingly dauntless and effective ally. He leapt and pirouetted through the attackers who couldn't keep their eyes off him, providing Xayah enough time to strike them down with devastating accuracy. In spite of her protestations, Rakan continued to follow Xayah, and over time, she grew to welcome his company. Eventually she realized that the world felt less broken and lonely with him around. Rakan is the worst, Xayah thought. He's fixated on his own feathers as if they had changed from when he cleaned them this morning. I'm going to have to repeat the plan. Although, thinking it over again, it probably was too complicated for a rescue mission. Simple is better. They will kill me if they catch me, she said. Who? He looked ready to kill at the thought of anyone harming her. The guards, she said. It's always the guards. Then I'll distract them. He puffed his chest out. When? Look for a green flash before the sun sets. Then draw the guards away from the western walls while I run along the ramparts to the cells. I put on a show the moment the sun sets. He said like it was his idea. Where do we meet? At the gate. I'll throw a golden blade into the sky, but you have to be there in 10 breaths. She pulled one of his feathers from his cloak. It was warm to her finger. A memory of a lovely day at the Effie waterfall with Rakan flashed in her mind. I will be at the gate the moment you throw the blade. He swore. She took his hand in hers and leaned close. I know. That smile, confident grin cracked his face. She wanted to slap him, or kiss him, or both. Now, darling, if I were you, I would stand behind the cover of the tree line, so you're not spotted. Their embrace was so warm she wished it would last all night. But the sun was dangerously close to the horizon, and she had to prepare facing a horde of shadow acolytes. Rakan told her to be careful as he wandered away looking at the sky. Every time he left, her heart sank. She was sure this wouldn't be the last time she saw him, but she knew one day it might. Remember my heartfire, she whispered after him. Sunset. Avoiding humans taught her their many blind spots. That's all she needed to sneak into the monastery. 6 acolytes guarded the gate leading to the dungeons. They carried double-firing crossbows, swords, and who knows what else in the pouches at their waists. She slinked along the inner wall behind them and got within striking distance. She plucked 5 feathers and readied them between her index finger and thumb. There was a noise from the outside of the wall. The crashing of a gong. Shouts, confused men. That had to be Rakan. The prison guards heard it too. Worry choked Xayah's heart. She hoped her love was okay. I know he's going to be okay. He'd better be okay. Or I will force a necromancer to resurrect him so I can murder him myself. He knows that I'll do that too. I'll figure it out, she thought. The guards were distracted from their posts. Rakan was early, but it was perfect timing. Xayah was able to get in without needing to strike down a single one of them. She almost reached the dungeon door when she saw another guard climb to the post and took deadly aim with his rifle. Nobody aims anything at my Rakan. She stopped. The prisoners wouldn't be going anywhere, so she had time to help Rakan. She leapt back toward the guard. The first feather she threw sliced off the barrel of the gun. It clattered loudly to the floor. The rest sliced through his chest. Intruder! One of the guards at the gate shouted. She ducked and rolled as crossbow bolts covered the stone wall behind her. Staying low, she ran toward the few acolytes who were still fanning out to get better angles. She leapt. They fired where they thought she would fall, but instead, she hovered in the air. She threw another handful of feathers. 5 of the guards dropped with quills in their chests. The remaining acolyte squared his shoulders and drew his sword before she touched the ground. Your soul will serve me forever, he grunted. She could feel the shadow magic bound up in his blade. The essence of every life it has taken. She laughed. I killed more people in the last 20 phases than you have in your entire life. The acolyte hesitated before slashing wildly in her direction. His sword left wavering trials of darkness. Xayah saw she didn't have the time for this. The sun was setting. She turned and walked away. She snapped her fingers and the quills tore free from the corpses behind the acolyte and flew back toward her. She heard the sword clank to the floor, a moment before the dull thud of his body. I'm sure the Order of the Shadow will find some way to harness these men's souls into a slingshot or something. I don't really know how these guys work, but good on them for being economical. One shouldn't waste life essence. She took Rakan's feather and launched it high into the air. It hung in the sky, long enough for Rakan to notice. Meanwhile, she was already looking for the consul in the cells. He looked terrible sitting in a cage, weak and beaten. He didn't look up, figuring her for one of the guards. He and his mate were Joko, but the other prisoners were from other tribes. Their eyes lit up in hope, but they all knew there was no time for gratitude. They were not out of the fortress yet. As she led the prisoners toward the eastern gate, she was surprised by the lack of guards. Nearly every post was deserted. They ran past the armory and the barracks. The gate was right in front of them. She saw all the missing guards were trying to surround Rakan, but he was agile enough to slip away and join Xayah and the group. His smile turned from confident to confused as he spoke to the consul. His name was Akunir. He was one of Xayah's father's oldest friends, and the most important of their ambassadors. She had a lot to discuss with him once they were out of there. "All of you, run to the tree line," she commanded. They were panicked, but thankfully Rakan took out his rifleman. "Run!" she yelled. Akunir was too slow, and Rakan began to lead him toward the forest. The consul grabbed at Rakan. "No, please protect Cole." Rakan turned back. Xayah shook her head at him. Rakan understood. He dragged the consul behind him. Xayah nodded at the strongest-looking Juloa, and he lifted Cole in his arms. She called him Joel, and he pledged his horns to keep her safe. He made it 10 paces before the first arrow hit him, but he didn't stop. He carried Cole into the forest, with the shadow acolyte still running behind them. "Xayah!" Rakan yelled. "Bow tube or tube bow?" She wished she had time to play, but she didn't. Instead, she fought back, and it wasn't pretty for the acolyte. After a while, they made it into a safe forest, but Joel's body could ignore the wounds no longer. Cole knelt next to his corpse, his blood covering the leaves around. Xayah was used to death. It wouldn't move her as it once did, but Rakan took it hard, and she had to be strong for him. At least, the consul was safe. After he took his hand off his wife's shoulder, he turned to Xayah. "I have friends in the south," he said. "The Ginkgo must be informed." Humans broke the pact. Xayah felt her blood rising. "How can you not see this as a grievous trespass? To them, magic is power. To us, it is life. They will never respect our boundaries." Humans are a splitted race, Xayah. Only Zed and his shadows broke the pact. They do not speak for all men. You are naive. Your friends in the south will betray you. Then they will turn on us all. The Ginkgo are honorable. They will believe me. I trust them. No, you're not naive. You're an idiot. Akunir was shocked that she dared to speak to him like this. Cole stood up. Her face was a mask of grief and anger. "I will go back north, Akunir. I will tell them what was done to us." The glow faded from Akunir's eyes. "Cole, no. I will bear word of Jurel's fate to his kin, and mourn with them. Then I will muster arms and prepare the tribe to fight." "You cannot do that," the consul proclaimed. Cole ignored him. "I forsake my claim to you. I forsake your claim to me. Cole, please." His voice flattened. "No," she said. The consul took a step toward her, but Rakan stopped him. "I will speak to my men," Akunir said to Rakan, to his guard. But Cole was already turned away. She looked at Xayah. It was no longer a diplomat's wife. She was a warrior. "Thank you, Xayah," Cole said before she walked further into the northern forest. Akunir and his guards watched her leave, then wordlessly set off to the south. Rakan moved in closer to Xayah. She could feel his heart beating in time with her own. "Promise me nothing will come between us like that, Miel," she said. "We're not like them, Miel," Rakan assured her. "We'll never be like that." She watched Cole as she disappeared among the trees.